Well, this probably looks about the same as it has in the last couple videos, but there's a lot of work getting done that you can't see offhand. For one, the back here is almost plumbed. That's a big enough job by itself. It's not as intimidating as you might think. It just takes a lot of figuring everything out. And you look over here and say, what is all this mess? This will allow me to not only overinflate the back end, but actually be able to move it and then hold it steady. So it's easy just to run a bypass on these, but it's a lot more complicated to plumb it up where you can overinflate and hold. It's a little bit excessive, I'll grant you that, but it works. It's pretty neat. And for picking up cattle trailers or dropping loaded trailers and picking them back up again, doing switches, you really should have a system where you can overinflate. That way you can pick trailers up off the ground a lot easier, and you know you're not going to get stuck somewhere, not be able to lift the legs of the trailer. Now hopefully tomorrow I'll be able to shoot video showing a big pile of parts here. We're still waiting on studs. All the dirt stuff is supposed to come tomorrow as well. So by tomorrow night we should have everything here that we need almost to finish the truck, honestly. The tanks are sitting in the shed, the tires are sitting in the shed, the fenders are ready to get picked up. The inside is still a mess. I'm installing the sound system for the cab. I'll show you the equipment that's going in here. The front brakes are all hooked up. These spikes poking out of the firewall are holding my spacers in. So when we go to put the heater core in, the spacers will be lined up with the holes. We're also getting new battery boxes from Dirks. I went with a battery box on both sides instead of the typical battery box and the storage box because the battery boxes are a lot more convenient to use for storage. On my last two trucks I've had battery boxes on both sides because you can remove the whole cover, and for putting bags of salt or whatever in that far side, it's really nice. This is my camera set up the way I have it right now. I'm still getting it a little bit more streamlined. Part of the reason why I'm not videoing a lot of the work is because there's other people around and cameras make things weird. So I'm not interested in running the cameras when there's other people around. This is the radio that's going to go in the truck. It is the Sony AX8100. I've had one of these before in a pickup, and this is the radio that is in the blue truck. I've never had a GPS. I don't use a GPS. I don't need a GPS for where I go, and the stuff I do is fairly repetitive. So the odd times where I did need it, this is a nicer alternative in my opinion than running a dedicated GPS stuck to the window. I can't stand the whole suction cup GPS, that whole mess. I cannot stand. I will not have. But it actually will be pretty nice to have something that has CarPlay built into it. That way you can run your music without having to touch your phone. Then for cab speakers we went with the JL Audio C3 525s. They are a woofer with a tweeter run inside of the woofer itself. They're a fairly deep speaker. You need a fair amount of room for them. Now to run these, you actually need another box here. I have this taped to the wall just so the upholstery will miss it. There's enough clearance if you stay close to the door. You won't actually hit that with your upholstery. You have to wire these with 4 wires here. Positive and negative for the woofer and the tweeter. So I used some 4-wire and I made this harness. I know these are a little bit melted, but I have a lighter here that would make Elon Musk blush. And it's kind of hard to do small heat shrink with this thing. So this cable runs down to the box here. And then I'm mounting the speaker to the steel bracket itself instead of the factory plastic. It's still going to have the factory square grill over top of this, but the speaker will actually be behind that. I also made a little 2-wire jumper here. That allows me to run from the factory harness to these 2 connectors, which will go in the box here. So right now I have the radio plugged in here. It is completely plugged into factory harness. This is the harness for the speakers, left and right side, and then it's split up for bunk and cab. So if I want to take the radio out, this is factory here, and this right here is a harness that I just made. When you convert from most radios back to the factory Peterbilt harness, you're going to have to combine your negatives for the cab and the bunk. So you'll be going from an 8-wire to a 6-wire. Just join your negatives like that. And then the purple out of here, the purple is the positive for the cab, and the green is the positive for the bunk. And that's the same on both of these for left and right side. So this one is what I made. In order to run a radio, you're going to need battery power, ignition power, a ground, and this 4th wire I added is actually the dash light wire. Factory Peterbilt would have a wire coming up here to turn the backlight of the old radio on. The new radios use that as a signal to tell the radio to dim. So the way this is set up, when my dash lights come on, the radio will automatically dim. Now if you want that but also tend to run with your dash lights on in the daylight, just add a little switch up here by your CB. If you wire your dash light wire into that switch and then into the radio, you'll have an automatic dimmer switch and you won't have to go into any menus to dim your radio. You can just hit it and it'll be dim. What I did is I took those 4 wires and then added these loops to the wires, which would give me 8 connections. That way when I put the fan in, I can just add a wire. Well, I'm actually going to add a wire to that radio harness to another 2-wire and pull the ground and power off of this thing. That way when we do the roof cap in a few years, whatever, I can just disconnect everything with a plug. So to make that harness, you buy one of these kits. I'll have a link in the description for this kit and for the tool for it. Different kits might vary a little bit, but the typical 3-wire plug you'd be used to with old cars, 4, 6, 8, 9. And then they also come with the terminals. Now these would be a nightmare to crimp manually. So what you do is you buy one of these crimper kits, and I'll have a link to this one. It is a ratcheting kit, which is actually very nice. It allows you to get really close without actually crimping. And then when you get everything set and your wire's in the perfect position, you can finish. And if you realize you're getting it wrong, it has a release right here. But if you can see in those jaws, they're a little bit stepped. And you take this connector and you rest the back of it in a cradle like that, and then ratchet this down. There, it's actually holding that terminal. As you ratchet, it's going to crimp that terminal around in that dove-shaped pattern and perfectly crimp that wire. And it would look like that. Now ideally you would get this first layer on the insulation and the smaller one on the copper wire. And so here, if I mess up, I lose my wires, or I decide I'm doing it wrong, I can just hit the release and I didn't waste that terminal. These terminals click into the connectors, so you can actually wire everything up without having to worry about the white box. And then once you're done, you can just assemble your plug, and that way you get factory style harnesses and don't have to patch in everywhere or you use those little blue connectors that I hate so much. We also have a kit like that for weatherproof connectors for doing the skirt lighting. And then for the bunk speakers, we're just going with the C1s instead of the C3s. And this is a basic plug-and-play speaker, so you don't have to worry about those boxes. Alright, I already have the other side wired up, so I'll do this side quick. Now you're not actually putting these forks at the back of the screw. The screw loosens off a plate and you slide this in behind the plate. Kind of like wiring up a breaker panel. So I have those all loosened off so I can get them started at roughly the same time. So the blue one is the negative, the purple is the positive, and I wired them up white positive, black negative. And the wires will go in easier if you do them both at the same time. Alright, it's as easy as that. One thing that's been indispensable for doing these wiring projects is having rolls of combined wires. If you were to do a truck build like this and not have any wire that's in a harness like this, it would just be a mess. It wouldn't be fun to fix. It would look ugly, start having problems with wires rubbing. Get yourself 2, 3, and 4 wire for sure. And of course 7 wire for your trailer cord, so you might as well just get a lot of it. You never know where you're going to need it, but when you need it, you'll be awful glad you have it. But 3-to-1 heat shrink will allow you to get the heat shrink over connectors and still shrink it. So for instance, those cheap blue connectors that come with this speaker set, those aren't heat shrink connectors. Adding a bit of heat shrink to them will really help the connector stay on the wire, because even if you crimp these really well, they come out. They're not a good system. So a bit of heat shrink that will fit over the big fat blue part but still grab the wire. 3-to-1 will do that, especially 3-to-1 quarter works good. I have 3-to-1 3/16. That didn't get over those blue connectors, and I have a 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch down here too. I use some of that to fix, just to cover some of the factory loom, although you have to be careful because this stuff will melt very easy, so you have to stay away from it. And I will link all of that stuff in the description with my affiliate links. This wire here is just for load lights. If you had a day cab, these run back to your load light switch, so I don't really need it. Other than that, it's just an issue of drilling the holes, mounting the speakers, and we're good.